All right, everybody, welcome back to this Milan podcast. I'm Martino Puccio, Matt Santangelo with you. As you can see by the title of the video and the title of the graphic below, Sandro Tonali has been sold to Newcastle. It's basically been confirmed by every major reporter. Yesterday, James Horncastle of The Athletic mentioned that there was a bid from Newcastle for 50 million euro. We all knew that wasn't going to get done for that price. There were a lot of doubts from people, including myself, that Tonali would even accept this bid. But as today and this morning rolled along, we kept seeing bigger and bigger bids being launched by Newcastle. David Ornstein and James Horncastle both said that the bid was reaching around 70 million. And then the reports in Italy were coming from Nicolo Schira and a few other reporters as well. And then finally, Di Marzio was confirming it by saying 70 million, but Milan are asking up to 80. So it looks like it's going to go up to 80 for this to get done and over the line, with Tonali having to agree with it. He's going to get 7 million net in wages. He's going to be more than doubling his salary. So understandable there from that standpoint. But I think the biggest story here to talk about first, Matt, is how this decision came about. This is this is the most surprising player out of all the heavily invested assets and important players for the future for Milan that would see leave the club within the first summer of Redbird's ownership. You would think it's somebody like Leao, like Magnan, like Benacer, like one of those players that could fetch you a huge fee. But at the end of the day, it ends up being the biggest Milanista of all, and that's Sandro Tonali. So your initial thoughts to the news?
Pretty much what everyone's feeling: shock, devastation, and upsetting. Right? I think Look, I woke up and saw this news, and I was like, this doesn't have legs, right? Sandro Tonali, he's the one player that embodies this badge, embodies these colors. There's no way he's leaving. There's no way he's up for sale. There's no way we can see this. And as you mentioned, you chronicled that sort of progression of negotiations, right? The 50, then it's 60, and it's like they're not letting up. They're clearly interested. They were pursuing Nicolo Barella last week, and we kind of scoffed at that too, because we're like, we know how good Nicolo Barella is. We know how important he is to Inter, and in many ways, Tonali was our Barella. He's our cornerstone midfield player, a player that you envision building your project around, despite maybe having more talented players in the squad, right? We've talked about Leao, we've talked about other guys, but Tonali's the guy. Like if nothing else, if some other players leave, we have Tonali. He's the guy that's going to be here for many years to come. And we saw this develop, and the more I wanted to not believe it, the more I saw more developments from the reliable sources, Di Marzio, and that kind of said, like, he's gone. He's actually going to be leaving this club. And look, it's the nature of the business. I got Kaká on my wall here. Shout out to Display Pro for hooking up the display here. I got Kaká. I got Ronaldinho. Now Kaká, when he left, that hit like a ton of bricks. And I think this is actually this is going to be Milan's record sale, surpassing Kaká to Real Madrid in 2008, 2009. So, I mean, it hurts, but only time will tell, right? We'll have to see how this is reinvested. I know we're seeing some developments, but initial reaction, initial thought is, it hurts, man. It hurts.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, so initial thought, I think it's totally a different situation if this player was not the biggest Milan fan on the team.
Yeah.
Someone that used to write letters as a kid, was super emotional when they won the Scudetto last year. We even saw how he reacted when Zlatan had his farewell at San Siro not too long ago. And now it's met with that. The three main Milanista figureheads that were on the pitch in that moment, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Sandro Tonali, and Paolo Maldini, all gone within the span of a month. And if you were to tell Milanisti that, you would have just said, yeah, maybe Zlatan, but the rest, no way, no how. But unfortunately, that is the situation. It's unfortunate in the sense that Milan are sitting in this situation, or the fan basis is that Maldini gets sacked. You see Tonali go out the window. It's kind of a soulless vibe around the club right now, that it doesn't matter about emotion. I see a lot of people go at Badir for this and saying, stop being emotional, stop being this and that. And he's always made such a significant and great point about this. And I think it needs to be said. The whole point and what makes this sport so great is about emotion. Every single goddamn time you see a preview for a match, it's about the fan base, the city, and just a country behind it, whether it's an international tournament, the emotions, the highs and lows of how great it is to be a football fan at the end of the day. And if you're sitting there saying stop being emotional over something, I think you're off base. I think you just don't actually grasp what it is to be a fan of a club or a fan of this sport. And to be honest, I understand in the sense of don't be emotional in terms of overreaction, but you should be emotional when stuff like
Yeah.
this happens, because the signal that it sends, and it's really funny to me when I see comparisons of Borussia Dortmund, RB Leipzig, and how they sell players and how they reinvest, and they never really are that ambitious. And it's frustrating to see that comparison for a club like this, because this club should never be that. And there's different scenarios in which we were in years ago where they have to sell, they're near bankruptcy, they're near all those things. They're not there right now.
No.
They're in the best profitable window that they've been in since the mid 2000s, where they could rework deals. They're cutting wages. They have players of significant value in their team, i.e. Sandro Tonali right here. You just don't do that. And you don't do it in the manner in which you do so, because that's the problem. The message that you're sending to a new team is you do require some time to prove yourselves. And I think that's fair. And I think management deserves that. Ownership deserves that. But when you kind of essentially spit in the face of the fan base is how it comes across right now. I'm upset in the sense that it happened so quickly, and that's the player they sold. When they could have sold other players, I would have been more okay, even with any other player on this team. But maybe it comes out to look good for them, because that is a lot of money. Now, initially, some of the reports that we're seeing, we can't go off of too much, because a lot of places are going to, drive up the clicks for their sites or whatever it may be. We don't truly know what's going to happen in that sense. But for me, I just think this came across so quickly. It's very sudden. He's away at the U21 tournament. And again, it's just a frustrating thing to see for fans, because selling a young star is eerily reminiscent of when you see someone like El Shaarawy leave all those years ago. And I know that, again, different situations. It's the fact that Milan did not have to sell and did not have to do it with this player is what is so frustrating. We'll see what happens and how they manage that.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot of people, draw parallels between, us selling Tonali, and we've seen Shevchenko and Kaká leave. Those players are, their pedigree, their legacies are larger. They've accomplished more than Sandro Tonali has. And we're talking, they're not comparable in that sense, right? This isn't the same situation as Thiago Silva and Ibrahimovic in 2012, where our finances are in the red. We need to really make a profit. We need to sell a player because we're in a bad spot. Milan didn't need to sell. And I saw a tweet that came out. I forgot the source, or the account, but pretty much chronicling the sort of progression of negotiations, the progression of the inevitable sale of Sandro Tonali to Newcastle. He departed to the Euro 2021 duty.
Yeah.
Pretty much saying, I want to stay. Don't let me go. Like, I'm not interested in leaving. Right. Newcastle made their approaches to Inter for Nicola Barella were shot down by player and club. Then they quickly pivoted over to Sandro Tonali in Milan to try to see if they can gauge that interest. And Jerry's like, we'll listen to you. Let's talk. Now, all of a sudden, that negotiation picked up steam. And now when you're a player like Sandro Tonali and you're blindsided by this, again, it's not a matter of, well, we have the players. Well, he could say he doesn't want to go, but how does it come off when you're such a figurehead of this new project? You're such a symbol of this club and a symbol for the future of this club and what you can represent as a potential captain. And the club is saying you're expendable. We can sell you. How will that make you feel as a player? Let's be honest here. Because I understand it takes 2 to tango. Ultimately, the players will. Everyone says the players will is important, and I think in reality, I tried to believe that. But as I saw this pick up steam, I'm like, you know what? This is the business. This is the business side of things, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. And look, it's frustrating. It's upsetting. It's disappointing because this is a player that you and I have talked about. We love. I have his jerseys. Fans see themselves in Sandro Tonali, a kid that grew up a Milan fan, that made it to the club, his boyhood club, and is winning trophies and achieving great things. And you give up on him at 23 years old because you're buying into the whole financial aspect. And to your point, on the emotion side, right? I think Badar makes a great point on that. And I think he hit the nail on the head when he talked about, how he felt after this on, not the Sandro tonight, Paolo Maldini dismissal, the emotion. Then why are we here? Milan fans don't fall in love with the finances and the books. We're not sitting here celebrating, hey, we won the balance sheet Scudetto. Why do we continually go to the well? Why do we continually throw on our jerseys? Why do we continually do what we do here, tweet, do everything, if emotion means fuck all? Excuse my language.
Yep.
It's stupid. It is stupid. I'm not interested in here, but look, we made a profit. I don't care. It's not my money. I'm not seeing the money. Ultimately, whether we invested remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, at the cost of what? A player that really wanted to stay here. We try to emphasize in this modern era of football, loyalty, right? We saw Rafael Leao commit. We saw Teo Hernandez commit. We saw Tamor, all the guys that we've seen commit to new contracts here. And the minute a player jumps ship and goes for money, we question his loyalty. This is a player that embodied loyalty, and now we're forcing him out the door for a profit.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to feel? How are fans supposed to feel? I understand people saying, well, if we flip them and we get Fratesi and Milinkovic-Savic and Güler from Fenerbahce, which is another report, then maybe. But at the end of the day, like, fans we're human. We have emotions. We're going to feel some type of way. And Sandro Tonali leaving is very bitter. It's a very bitter moment for us.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, and I want to just having this conversation with Carlos, because Carlos is an idiot on Twitter, but it's different when he's serious. It just depends. Yeah. Like, everyone, if you see me getting trolled on the internet, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about your opinions. You care more about what I say, so that says a lot about that. Just to address that, because everybody keeps blowing up my mentions. But to the point of this, though, Serie A is in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
They're in a really bad spot. Listen, it's nice when it's competitive, but when the top three teams are in the situations that they're in, Milan, self-inflicted. Juve, you could argue self-inflicted. Inter, definitely self-inflicted. There's no denying that. Yeah. When you have those three clubs being in a situation like that where they were competitive, doing relatively well, but now they have to sell players. Now one of them is not going to be in the UCL next year. Two of which are probably going to get worse in Milan and Inter. We'll see what Inter does. They're still the same team as of right now, whether or not Lukaku comes back, Onana sale. Milan are immediately worse. The starting midfield for match day 1 is Pobega and Krunic for Milan. So there's a lot to work on at the moment in time. So for me, there's just so much to fix and so little time. We're seeing Thuram might be closer to Milan. Who even knows at this point? There hasn't been an overly reliable report about that. So there's nothing to go off of in that sense. Yeah, unfortunately, what this is that actually, honestly, this is just like Thiago Silva. This is just like it. I remember that. I remember when Kaká was sold too. Like, that's the part that is so funny to me. That when fans are just like, "Oh, like you're like, now you understand what it's like to be an Inter fan or this and that." I was like, then you just don't know anything about Milan. Then you just don't know anything about what it's like to have been a fan of this club for the past 15 or so years. I don't think you truly grasp what it's been like. They are not Dortmund. They should never be Dortmund. They're not in a situation financially that they should be that. They can't even get a fucking stadium. Okay? The country is against them. And this is against most teams in the league. This isn't even a Milan thing, strictly that point. Okay, so the country, the city are against them. They can't even help them out in that sense. Ownership isn't willing to go further to the point that they could. And there's a difference between asking InvestCorp to drop $300 million in the summer, literally unattainable because of the UEFA agreement. They can't go minus $60 million in a singular year in the red. Investing $300 million in a singular summer would do that, and that's a violation of FFP agreement that they had with UEFA, so that would have been a ban for them. But as we have mentioned on here before and other places, you can still go minus 50. You could still push yourself a little bit further. Maldini was right in that sense. But as we know, management, the new management, CEO Furlani, Moncada to an extent, Jerry Cardinal, they do not agree with that. They do not agree with going forward with that method. And unfortunately for Milan fans, they're the victims of it. They're the people who are going to have to deal with this. The players come and go, always. The red and black colors will remain. But the point of contention is this. Are Milan ever going to reach the heights of 2007 again? That is the ultimate question that is asked of every new ownership, every new management, and every new investment. Will this player or this manager or this executive or this owner get number 8 for Milan? And the immediate answer to seeing recent ownerships is no.
There's no.
You can
And
get number 19, you can get number 20. Number 8 is not coming.
and I think frankly the more you have the vision and structure of your club and how you wish to proceed with its functions on a day on a summer basis, on a seasonal basis, like they are, you'll never be at that level again, because
No.
the teams that have sustained success, the teams that win trophies consistently, the teams that get to the summit, it's not, yes, it's money, of course, but there's sustainability, there's stability with the project. On a larger scale, look at City's core, look at Madrid's core, look at Manchester United's cores of the past, even Liverpool when they won. I know I'm mentioning all clubs that have
In the Premier League,
they have the financial clout that we don't have, that the league doesn't have in Serie A, right? But you have to have some sort of stability. You can't go year to year and saying, hey, we're going to sell one of our core players, and then who's to say it's not Rafael Leao next summer? His clause isn't active for this summer, but who's to say next summer he's not gone?
And they would all want out, yeah.
And people will be looking at it and say, yeah, but we'll get 175 million from him. I ain't seeing the money. If my club sells its top player for 170 million and spends 50 million, how do I benefit from that? What do I gain from that as a fan? Do I get a share of his release clause? Do you? No?
Yep.
So who cares? Right? So it doesn't, in my view, it doesn't matter. I'm not here to look after the finances of Milan. I'm not here to look after the wage bill of Milan. I want to see this team win. I want to see top players compete at this club and win trophies. That's what I want to see. And when you do this on a yearly basis, I think it sends a clear signal to the rest of Europe that Milan are open for business.
And they're not serious.
Maldini had that quote. I'm seeing it circulate quite a bit today, that they had big clubs come in, paraphrasing, big clubs come in, we shot them down, we told them not even to show up. That was Milan, that was Maldini's stance.
And then they made it to their first semifinal. Yeah.
And they made it to their first semifinal. Now you fire him, who has the idea and vision to say, hey, we need to be brave, we need to spend more. We want to keep these players. So now what do? You fire him because he wants to spend more, and also you pretty much are signaling that you're going against his philosophy of retaining top players and building around a winning core. These are players that grew at Milan for 4 seasons, won trophies, made deep Champions League run. We're not giving up on a young player, and this is all like a Hauger situation where we think he could be good. Sandro Tonali failed at this club his first season. He grew at this club into a champion, a cornerstone player. And now we have an elite midfielder, a Champions League midfielder that made a semifinal run, being sold at 23. I could tolerate if you could sell the guy at 27, 28, and it's Real Madrid. See, that's where I always talk about the comparison, that it's not like for like with the Kaká or some of the other players of the past. No offense to Newcastle. It's not the allure of Real Madrid. If Tonali came with an offer from Real Madrid, and they, hey, look, Real Madrid are offering me triple my salary and I get to play for Real Madrid, it's hard. That would be almost impossible for most players to turn down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is, and it's not just a money thing. I'm not blaming Sandro, but it's almost as if it's strictly that our owner doesn't care about the allure and the sort of emotional attachment that fans have and players have to this club. They don't care about those sorts of intangible elements that make Milan what it is. And when you start doing that, there was the domino to fall was Maldini. And then when Maldini goes in that fashion, then nobody's safe at that point. Let's be real here. And this is what we got here. So, I mean, this is my initial feeling towards it. I mean, people are going to say, look, well, let's let the market play out. Let's let the market play out. How am I supposed to feel? How are you supposed to feel when you just see Ibrahimovic leave? You see Maldini leave the way he is, forcing Tonali out. Is that supposed to just give us confidence when they have nothing tangible to put towards earning that confidence? They don't have a summer market. If they had 2 or 3 markets where they said, hey, look, guys, we sold top players. We know how to invest. Milan are making strides forward. We're going to be a team that wins in the Champions League. Then people can go to bat and they can lean on that. We have nothing of tangible success under this regime and this management that gives me confidence. So until we get certain players in there, and until we see what the product on the field is come match day 1, and we see what type of results we're getting both domestically and in Champions League, how am I supposed to be confident right now? How am I supposed to say, let's just give them a chance? You're not really earning my trust. You're not earning anybody's trust right now.
Yeah, nobody has it. Yeah. And again, this is the decision that they want to make, and I tweeted this out, and people again, whatever. It's just Twitter. But the point was, and what I was saying was, sell Tonali, sack Maldini. You have to be perfect. If we're talking PR standpoint, you have to be perfect. They have to win a trophy. We said this also after the Maldini sacking of what happened. You had to win a trophy. Now you need to win a trophy. You have no excuses. You have no excuses. If your standard is top 4 again, you're okay with that. No one's going to want to root for you. No one is going to back this. You have one of the biggest fan bases in the world, and I've always said this. If you want to get bigger and better, you act like it. You do not act like it by selling players like this and then being interested in reinvesting in other players. You don't do it by sacking a club icon and not giving out a PR statement on Twitter of all places. You hide it underneath your website. You put it out, goodbye Zlatan. You put it out for goodbye Ricky Masada. Maldini is Milan. You do not do that. Okay, that's shitty PR. It's awful. It's garbage. It's bottom of the bottom. Okay, and then again, what you do with this? It's one thing if you love the money. If it goes up to 80 million, okay, how do you reinvest? How do you do it? How do you do it? What kind of signal does this send, like you were saying, to Teo Hernandez, to Mike Magnan? When it's all been said. When it's all been said.
And
exactly.
I said that in our Maldini video. Did I not say that?
We say, yeah, everybody thought the same thing. The second that he got sacked, everyone's like, holy shit, who wants to stay now? It's nice when Rafael Leao says he always wants to stay at Milan, and it's a good thing that players would want to be here because of the club, not exactly because there's an executive here. I think that would actually be a worse thing. You want them to be here because it's Milan. That's the whole point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little different when you come for an executive. I think the real issue is how you did it, and there was even reports today, by the way, from legitimate reporters, and this was said by Di Marzio. Pioli was not even told. Stefano Pioli, the guy that they supposedly backed, and we're trying to give more wiggle room.
And we were told that he was going to have more of a say in the market, right?
He's not even let in. They didn't even let him know.
Let's be honest. We appreciate what Pioli's done for Milan.
He's gone by this year.
He's a yes man. He's under contract. This is the best job he'll ever get. No offense to him. I'm not. This isn't me trying to dunk on Stefano Pioli, because I do appreciate the work he's done. Although again, last year was a disaster from a performance standpoint and handling a lot of the youngsters. But that's a whole other conversation. He's a yes man. What do you think he's going to say? Well, I want to say. Managers command that sort of authority. Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, those guys. No offense, Pioli ain't going and knocking on the door of Jerry and saying, "Hey, I want more say in the market."
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
They view him as expendable.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the situation. Whether or not it gets turned around, we'll see. I think the only way that you could justify this Tonali sale is if you get Fratesi and Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. That's it. That's the only way you justify this. Thuram comes, that doesn't matter. He should have been coming with or without Tonali. That's like that. You had to get a striker. By the way, in which I don't think they're going to get a top one. So that'll be their guy. You can almost guarantee that. Kamada will come in. It's not
13 goals last year. You're paying him basically what you're almost paying Leao.
No, they boosted. Okay, so the latest report was they boosted the offer ahead of $5 million. So that would be the highest paid player on the team would be Marcus Thuram. Okay. And when you go in free agency, you want to do business like that. You want your wages to be a certain way. That's what happens. He's going to be your highest paid player. Rafael Leao ain't staying here past 2 seasons. I'd be stunned. There's going to be a negotiated fee. I don't think anyone pays 175. If someone does, God bless. But that's the reality of the situation. Sandro Tonali sold to Newcastle. What is your silver lining, Matt, if you could take one away from this?
It's a lot of money. The fee is pretty significant. I mean, it's what Milan's record transfer, right? So, I mean, if there's anything that you're going to try to take from this, it's, hey, we made our record sale. So it wasn't that we took some sort of haircut on a deal and we sold him for $50 million to a Premier League team. That would have been, it's already, in my view.
It was pretty good negotiating, to be fair.
It's already, in my view, and my feeling, it's already, like, unjustifiable to do what we're doing here. But if you're going to cause sort of outrage like they're causing with this decision, it better be outrageous money.
Well,
And the one thing too that we have to add to this as an addition, I think Bader mentioned it as well. Shout out to Bader. I know you work with him on Sempre Milan, TikToks, Reels, and all that stuff. So you guys are doing great work there. But
yeah, he feels it.
he mentioned that Brescia get a sell. They get a sell-on clause. They get 15% of any sort of sale of Sandro Tonali. So assuming it's 70 million, 80 million, they're getting a little chunk of that.
Yeah.
So again, make of that what you will. I mean, at this point, those are key elements in any transfer, because 15%, it's another 10, 15 million, give or take, that we can't spend, or we probably won't spend, because everything has to be, looked at with microscopic eyes when it comes to this team. I guess the other part of it is, do we really feel that we're going to reinvest a good or large portion of what we're going to get from the proceeds of this transfer? It remains to be seen. 40 million, if we're just speaking briefly on some of the rumors, right? Frattesi, Giuseppe Rizzo met with Forlani and Milan Brass earlier today to kind of discuss, Frattesi, Tonali, same agent. 40 million, with all due respect, he's a good player. It's different gravy, different pressure going from Sassuolo to Milan. Now you're basically going to be the replacement, even maybe not in profile, but in position, essentially, depending on if we shift formations. For Sandro Tonali, I don't think he's worth 40 million, personally. I think he's a good player. He's not a great player, but what you're losing in Sandro Tonali from the soul, a symbolistic standpoint, you can't replace. So I think you're bang on. Like, it just can't be Frattesi as the guy that we get in, and then we kind of put the rest of the money down south. And Sergio Milinkovic-Savic, I don't see that happening. I think that with the way that Lotito negotiates, the way that Carnevale is going to negotiate, they know we got a little bit of money now. Do you think they're going to? And they love a nice bidding war. You know who they got in there for Frattesi? They got the 3 biggest clubs in Serie A. No disrespect to Napoli, but from historical standpoint, you have Inter, you have Juve, and you have Milan now engaged in a bidding war for Frattesi. Carnevale, he sells his players for 35, 40 million. I'd be stunned if we're able to sort of swindle Sassuolo into a Locatelli type deal where we pay it over 2 years, the loans, all that stuff. They say, you're going to have the money now. You're going to give us the money now. And Lotito, we're probably going to have to overspend because of the same reason, but also
latest report was 40 million. Yeah.
So good luck with that. Guler, good luck. A lot of competition. Ultimately, you have to convince the young player on the project. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's just the draw and the allure of some of the other clubs that have a more enticing project that ultimately could draw these players away from Milan. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. That is pretty much the video. We will try and do more market updates as things go along. It was pretty dead. Santangelo sent me the text yesterday. Hey, I blame you at this point. He said yesterday. Fault. Yeah. Oh, just like Tonali's my fault as well. Not even, guys. I am not a journalist. You goddamn morons. And secondly, Santangelo was just like, you want to do something on the market? I'm like, man, it's pretty dead right now. I don't think it's worth it. And then I woke up in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I guess we got to do something today. Well, anyways, guys, we truly appreciate all the support. I will forever be rooting for Milan. And again, this is not even the worst day. Like, again, I know many of you don't give a shit. I know Santangelo might not give a shit, but I say it time and time again. I'm a Mets and Jets fan. I root for far worse franchises and far worse situations where there is zero hope. I still show up. And we've been doing shit since 2017, since I graduated college, when it was even worse situations, and we got our hopes up for the Young Hung Lee ownership, and went downwards to where they were banned from Europe. We're always going to be here. We're always going to be commenting on videos. So if you need a place to vent, go in here, drop a comment, give us a like as well. Subscribe if you have not already. We greatly appreciate all of the support. Unfortunately, it's not going our way right now. And you know what? Only time will tell to see what happens with Milan. But I will say right now, it's going to be a while before you see anything of significance for Milan. We'll see whether it's through this ownership, through this management, or whatever it may be. But keep rooting for the same team, even if you're not happy with a lot of the decisions. The players deserve our support at the end of the day, and I think that's what's most important. Other than that, Matt, just plug all your stuff.
Sure. Follow me on Twitter at Matt_Santangelo. Also, just some minor news, I guess. I haven't really tweeted out, but I've taken on sort of a quasi-editor role with Milan Reports. Of course, me and Martino did a lot of streaming and Twitch content back in the day with them. So you'll be seeing some articles on their site from me. obviously with Football Italia as well. Although again, I'm trying to make time for all my written commitments. Anything I'm working on will be on Twitter at Matt_Santangelo. Usually I point down because it's usually in the bottom. I don't know if it is. And last thing, once again, shout out to pointing in the wrong direction. Yes, here we go. Display Pro. Make sure you guys, if you guys are interested in displaying your jerseys like I have over here, go check them out. You can do it a couple different ways. It's nice, clean, professional look if you want to kind of level up your backdrop. I know I've been slacking for a while. Martino has a little bit more, gadgets and bobbleheads and things displayed there.
I mean, they're never in the shots of the podcast.
They're never in the
Oh,
shots.
no, look,
yeah.
out of focus now. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, look, that sums up the day.
Yeah. So again, shout out to our Display Pro. Display your jerseys. Go check them out. Support with Steve Moore. He's a big Lazio fan. We've talked to him many times. He's a great dude. So go check them out on Instagram, Twitter, and get some stuff for yourself.
Yeah, just follow me everywhere at Martino Puccio on Twitter if you want to just follow any of that stuff. At Martino Puccio pretty much everywhere else, YouTube. If you give a shit about TikTok, just every now and then random posts there. And Instagram and Semper Milan, where everything gets uploaded. I know Milan Reports and Semper Milan or whatever, they're back and forth, but we're all covering and love the same teams, and it's all good content and everybody's friends, and that's what matters most. I'm not here to alienate or say someone's better than the other. I'm just not about that. I only do that when it's compared to you, right? But anyways, guys, appreciate it once more. Maybe better days ahead. We'll find out, but we appreciate you watching.